Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the first of our 4 community forums, where our president, Dr. Raffin, will be talking about our plans for the college for the summer and fall semesters, and we will allow folks to ask us questions. Speaking of the questions, in order to ask your question today, all you need to do is type your question into the chat feature, which is usually on the right-hand side of your screen. I will be reading the questions aloud, and either Dr. Raffin or one of us will be able to answer your questions. I do encourage you, if you want any follow-up to your questions, when you send your message, you can choose to message privately, and you can put in your contact information, either your email address or phone number, and we will be able to reach back out to you after the session if you need any follow-up questions answered. We will be recording today's session as well as the other 3 sessions that will follow. It is possible we'll have different questions asked in each session, so you're welcome to join any of the following sessions that we have scheduled. All of the sessions are listed on the website where you were able to find the link for this session today. We do plan for 1 hour today, and we did have some questions emailed in, but we will take the questions as we see them arrive on the screen and answer as many as we can. We have quite a few staff on hand with us today who will be able to answer the questions that you have. So with that, that is all that I have for introduction and the start of the session. So I'll turn it over to President of NWTC, Dr. Jeff
Raffin. Thank you, Alicia, and good afternoon. I'm excited to be able to have an opportunity to talk to you. I know that many of you may be wondering what is going to happen at NWTC or at colleges in general, but particularly at our college in the summer and even more particularly in the fall. I want to thank those of you who may be on that stayed with us during the spring. Obviously, with the advent of the COVID pandemic, that certainly changed everything in terms of what we do and how we provide our education. And I know that it had a dramatic impact on the lives of our students and still is having a dramatic impact on the lives of our students. I would have to say that first and foremost, we're obviously concerned about the health of our students and our prospective students, as well as the health of our employees. We don't know any more than you probably know about what is happening with the COVID pandemic and whether it will return or it won't return, or if it will go away and when a vaccine is going to happen. And we just don't know. One thing that we do know, however, is that getting a college education is extremely important. And it makes the difference between you being able to have a family supporting career and perhaps not being able to have a family supporting career. Some of you may be wondering, well, should I take the year off? Maybe I should do a gap year. Maybe I shouldn't be coming to college because who knows what's going to happen, or I don't like online education, so I don't want to get stuck taking just courses online. And I'm here to tell you that at NWTC, we are a hands-on institution. We are a technical college, and one of the hallmarks of what we do and where we are is that we get our students engaged in the activities, the technologies that they're learning. Employers are unanimous in their opinion that graduates from our college come prepared. They've had the opportunity, they've had their hands on, whether it be equipment because you're in a trades or in the engineering program, or you're in a health program, or you're in a dental program or business program, or IT program, digital graphics, any of those things, we provide hands-on education. So the challenge for us and for you, of course, is how do we do that in an environment that may be risky, at least in terms of the COVID pandemic. We believe we can do this safely if we all work together to maintain 3 things. 1, that we wear masks. Yes, I don't know if I like wearing a mask all the time, and frankly, when you see me around in the halls, I'll be wearing a mask. Although I hear that, and I see that some of these masks are quite the fashion statement lately. So it seems like that's going to be the new thing. The one that my wife wants to get me is the one that has the zipper, where it zips across so you can't talk. Now, we don't want you to get those kind because we want you to participate in terms of what we're doing here. But masks, physical distancing, we need to maintain the 6 feet. And we're going through all of our classrooms and all of our laboratories and making sure that when you're here on our campuses or in a regional learning center or over in Marinette or Sturgeon Bay, that you're going to be have the physical distance, so the 6 feet that are there. And as long as you are aware of that, we will have the ability for you to remain 6 feet away from each other. So that's going to be important. And then, of course, the third thing is that we're going to be cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. That's going to be important. We're committed to making sure that the environment that you're in is as germ and virus-free as possible. We are providing our education in really basically 3 different broad categories. And you'll see that when you decide to register for our courses. Some will be identified as in-person. Typically, those are going to be ones that are mostly in-person. Mostly you're going to be on a campus because, frankly, we can't teach you how to fix a car unless you are working on the car. And I don't know about you, but when I go to a hospital and there's a nurse there, I want to make sure that nurse has actually been working on a real person, not just a simulator. So, we have to provide opportunities for students to be able to do those things. And so our laboratory programs will be in person. There may be parts of that, however, that, you're able to do at your home or at your workplace or during a break. And those are primarily the parts where perhaps you might be watching a streaming lecture, or you might be participating in a chat room with folks. But you will be doing the hands-on work and learning in a hands-on way in those particular classes. A second way in which, of course, that we offer is what we would call, what you'll see as blended. And in that case, what we're doing is there'll be more of a mix of being on campus and then also being doing work off campus. Those courses tend to be less laboratory intense, and you can do the work by reading and writing and communicating with other students online, in chat rooms, through our learning management system, which we call Blackboard. You might be a little concerned about that. You might say, I don't know if I like that. I'll tell you, one of the things that I've learned this last 8 weeks is I can have some really great conversations using our platform of WebEx or Teams. And these are classes and lectures that are run synchronously. And by synchronous, I mean that we're all on at the same time and we can see each other's face. And frankly, we can have that conversation. And so, I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people that works a whole lot better when I've got some structure and somebody says I'm supposed to be in class at a particular time. I'm a classic procrastinator. And sometimes that works. A lot of times it doesn't work. And so we certainly work at that. But the other very important thing about a blended class is you will also be on campus. At least once a week will you be on campus working with your classmates, being with your classmates. And that once a week will probably be something along, might be 2-3 hours. So it's not like you're coming on class and saying hi and you go home. So you will be able to develop the kind of relationships and peer support that is so important as you learn your education. And you'll be able to share ideas both virtually and in person. And then the third way, of course, is online classes, which we've offered all along. We're not really expanding the number of online classes we have, but what we've been offering online, completely online, we still will do so. And oftentimes in an online class gives you a lot more flexibility because you can fit in the work around your schedule. Unless, of course, you're in one of those classes where the class is meeting all together at the same time, because we'll use both methods in delivering our online instruction. Some of you do really well in online instruction, and some of you, that's just not your thing. I recognize that. And we have a lot of colleges and universities out there that are saying they're going to do the fall online. And that, if that's not for you, I would encourage you to take a look at NWTC. Frankly, even if you decide to take a gap year, you could take 1 or 2 or 3 courses from NWTC and still, have your job and do the things that you want to do during that gap year and get some of the courses out of the way before you go on to the university. Or I think once you start to do that with us, you'll realize, boy, get those first 2 years at NWTC and that'll set me up well for the future, whether I want to go on to get a bachelor's degree or I want to get into the workplace right away. But those kinds of courses will be available for you. Now, we know, I'm not kidding you, we don't know what the fall's going to bring. So this is our plan. This is how we are getting ourselves set up to do this. Our classes in some cases are going to be smaller because we got to make sure that in that room that maybe there used to be 24 people and now there are only 12, or maybe in that laboratory where there used to be 18 people, now there can only be 12, or there can be some smaller number. But we'll figure that out. That's going to be our problem. And in some ways, that'll give you more opportunities. Also, you may know many of you will be in classes that are 8 weeks long. So, those 8-week classes are going to give you the ability to just focus on 1 or 2 courses at a time, as opposed to trying to do 4 courses over 15 weeks. You would be doing 2 courses maybe over 8 weeks, and then another 2 courses over the next 8 weeks. So you get the same amount done, some cases even more. Students find that in the 8-week format, they really like to be able to concentrate on 1 or 2 courses at a time as opposed to spreading their attention over a number of others. But as I said, we don't know for sure exactly what's going to happen in the fall and the spring. And so, no one can guarantee anything other than the fact that I can guarantee we are a hands-on institution. And so we're exploring different ways of even providing the hands-on experiences in an off-campus format as much as possible. But we've decided, and we are making available something that we're calling no-risk enrollment. You can enroll in a course, reserve your spot, if you will, today, tomorrow. Don't have to pay us a dime. We'll even give you the books and the supplies that you need. You don't have to pay for those either. Take the class for the first 5 days of the semester and find out, do you like it? Does it work for you? And if for some reason you find out that it doesn't work for you, you can leave the class. We won't have a record of that. We're not going to, it won't affect your GPA. And more importantly, you're not going to have to pay for it. So we call this kind of our no-risk enrollment. Reserve your spot now. Make sure that when you want to come here, you can come and you can take the class at the time that you want to take it. So that's going to be important, I think, for you. We'll take the risk. We'll take the risk that you'll sign up and decide you don't like it and leave. Because we think that once you do sign up and once you do go to class for that first week, you're going to find that this is the place for you. If you want to get more information about this, the easiest way is to go on our website at nwtc.edu. And right across the very top of that website is a scrolling banner, and on it, it has no risk enrollment. Click on that. It'll get you right into the system and get you started right away in terms of getting enrolled at NWTC and beginning your career, your education career in higher education at Northeast Wisconsin Technical College. I'd be glad at this point to take any questions and give you any information that you need. And as Alicia said at the very beginning, I have a whole panel of experts here that can make sure that I, as president, are giving you the right information.
So we don't have any questions yet on the screen. So if you're listening to us right now and you'd like to add your question, go ahead and enter them in the chat feature. But we do have some questions that were emailed to us ahead of time. So I'll go ahead and start down those questions, and as others pop up on the screen, we'll insert them as we go. So the first question that we have is, and some of these you may have answered a little bit already, Dr. Raffin, but we can hit them again. If in-person classes will be held in fall, will class sizes be limited?
Yes, we'll have to limit the size of the class based on what the number of people that could be in that room, if you will, or in that confined space, to make sure that you can maintain the physical distancing of at least 6 feet apart from each other. So that will be an important part of what we're doing. And there'll be parts of our campus that we'll try to keep students in, so that if you happen to be in engineering technology, you'll stay primarily in that particular building. Or if you happen to be in IT, you may stay in that particular part of the building. That way, we'll limit the numbers of people potentially that you would come into contact with. Heaven forbid, we have a COVID case that we need to respond to.
This was a couple of questions, so I'm combining them into one. Are there any modifications being made to classrooms or other spaces on campus?
Yeah, we're actually going through all of our classrooms and all of our spaces, and we're assessing them based on the physical dimensions that we have. Because we're going to have to do a couple of things in that space. One is we're going to need to limit the numbers of students that can be in there. But then also, if there happen to be computers in there, or if it's a computer class, we're going to need to make sure that we've got that IT infrastructure set up in such a way that students can maintain the distance and get into the IT. Or perhaps there are specific kinds of tools or specific kinds of things that you'll be working with as a student as you learn your craft or your occupation, if you will, that we'll need to make sure are spread far enough apart to be able to maintain the physical distancing.
For hands-on courses like electricity, how will you ensure the students' safety? What will those classes look like?
Yeah, we will make sure that when students are working on the electrical infrastructure, if you will, we have actually 2 buildings or mock buildings in our laboratory there that are large enough as houses to keep students at least 6 feet apart from each other. And instructors will be making sure that as those spaces are assigned, or as in students are working in those spaces, that they're maintaining the distance between each other. Likewise, when you're sitting at a desk or a table and they're explaining some sort of principle, you'll also have space that will allow for that physical distancing. The one thing we can't control, and that we'll be working and we'll certainly be advising and trying to help keep students, is that when you go in and out the door, if you all try to go out the door at the same time, that could be a problem. But, you can maintain distance going out that door. And, incidental contact typically is okay. But we'll have a traffic pattern that hopefully will help you also stay and maintain that physical distancing.
Will there be more sections of classes offered?
Yeah, there may very well be that, particularly in blended, for instance. We may have a class in blended, let's say that you're taking English composition. There may have been 24 in that class typically. Well, now maybe we can only handle 12 at a time in a classroom. And so you may see a situation where there would be 12 people in that classroom and the other 12 are having their blended day off campus while the 12 on campus are doing their work. And then the reverse would happen, so that you might be here on Tuesday and the other half of the class might be here on Thursday. So that's one of the ways in which we would do that. In some cases, particularly in the lab courses, we may find ourselves having to offer additional sections in order to be able to accommodate that. Because again, of course, we can't send the lab equipment home with you for the most part, although there is some simulation equipment we can send home with you, and we would. But we will have to run additional sections. Let me put it this way. With the exception of some programs like dental hygiene, usually typically in the health science programs, we will find space for you. So, but the sooner you let us know that you want to come or you're thinking of coming, the better job we're going to do in terms of planning for that.
Is there a parent portal to keep current on information for new students?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Is there a parent portal, a space for parents' information?
Yeah. Well, the same portal that the same website would have all of that information from the parents. I don't know, Alicia, I don't believe we have a separate portal for the parent, if I remember correctly.
No, we do not have a separate portal for parents, but most of the information that we have available with regard to how our courses are going to be offered for the fall is available on our nwtc.edu website. Right now, you can click on the Learn More button at the top of the page, and there are constant updates about what we're doing with respect to the COVID response. There's also a black button below the banner on the main webpage that has a picture, and it says coronavirus update on that. You can click on that as well as most of the other information that we're talking about with respect to no-risk enrollment, as well as course offerings, is all available on our public website to anyone who wants to find it. What do you have to say to people like myself who are worried about the 8-week sessions? I have some blended classes coming up for the nursing gen eds, and I discovered this spring that I can't learn online, and I'm worried about my success for a blended class and having to do it in 8 weeks.
What I will say is that students who have taken 8-week classes, not only at our college, but at many other colleges, are actually finding this easier and preferable than taking multiple classes at the same time. The other thing is we are absolutely committed to your success. So we have a whole raft of counselors and advisors and coaches, academic coaches. We keep track of whether or not you're running into problems or not. We'll reach out to you even if you don't think you're having a problem. We might say, geez, why don't you come in and see us? We'll work with you. Uniformly, what we're finding is that once people get into the 8-week classes, that's what they prefer. They don't want to have longer classes. Keep in mind that when you're in an 8-week class, you're taking fewer classes. In some cases, it may be only one class, but you'll still be able to graduate in the same timetable that you did before, sometimes more quickly. I don't know, Erica Wade is with us, and Erica is responsible for all of our academic advisors. And Erica, what are you telling students when they're concerned about taking a class for 8 weeks?
Really, one of the biggest selling points that we've been using with students is just their opportunity for them to space their classes out differently. They're not taking 4 or 5 different classes at a time. They're able to focus just all of their energy and their learning on 2 to 3, maybe, depending. Sounds like she's in the nursing program. And that really has been a huge advantage for the students that have gone through 8-week courses already. Of course, we are always encouraging students to reach out if they do have questions or help, so we can refer them and get them assistance if they need it. We know that transitioning to a blended 8-week course may be a little bit different, and a lot of students feel that way, but we do have supports as far as different student services and resources on campus to help make that transition smooth for students.
We would not have moved to 8 weeks if we didn't firmly believe that students will be more successful in the 8-week format, or more students will be successful in the 8-week format. So know that we're there for you. We know that you're making a significant investment in terms of time, money, and opportunity. We're going to make sure that you're successful.
Is job shadowing required to be completed prior to the fall semester? Looks like that's for the PTA program, since hospitals are closed to visitors.
Well, Scott is our Dean for Health Sciences, and the Physical Therapy Assistant Program is under them. Scott, how are we handling this issue of not only job shadowing, but clinics and opportunities to get into some of these healthcare facilities, which is so important to the education we provide?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Raffin, and thank you for the question. First, the job shadow question. We are waiving all of job shadow requirements for incoming students for the fall. So you won't have to worry about completing your job shadow. We understand the difficulty with scheduling those right now. We are just starting to work with our clinical partners to gain access back to our clinical sites and assignments. Early in March, the hospital systems and most of our clinic providers needed to remove students to prepare for the COVID situation. And now we are in a place where they are opening up their slots again. There may be different capacity numbers, which we will then supplement with simulated clinic situations in the fall. But we fully expect that by this summer and fall that we will have clinical access again. It just may look a little bit different than it did before this all started.
You know, one of the things to remember is that all of these employers, whether they be in healthcare or they be in manufacturing or they be in IT or business, they need skilled employees, and that has not changed. And in fact, they're going to be ever more reliant on more highly skilled employees. So they're going to want to, not only do they need to, but they're going to want to make sure that they're providing those opportunities to our students.
What will happen with student life events?
Well, we will have a combination of on-campus student life events, as well as some creative off-campus student life events as well. One of the interesting things that we're doing this year is we're creating 2 common hours during the week, so that there's a common hour on Tuesday and a common hour on Thursday where nothing will be scheduled that will be used specifically for student engagement activities. Now, not all student engagement activities will be during those 2 hours, but at least students would know that during those 2 hours they're not going to be required to be in a class or in a laboratory. Student engagement activities are extremely important. Sometimes people think of those as just sort of frills or a little bit of fluff. But in reality, what we find is that students who are engaged in activities on the campus beyond, or even like activities off the campus, are beyond their classes, tend to do better in classes, and they also tend to be more likely to finish their programs. And so we want to make sure that that happens. The other thing is many of our student engagement activities provide additional learning experiences. Sometimes it's team learning, sometimes it's learning from a particular presenter or entertainer. These are, sometimes it's learning from different kinds of people across our communities. These are all important, and we're going to make sure that we continue to have a robust student engagement, student activities out of student involvement.
How will it work for someone who transitioned to online this spring and did not pass the class? Will they be given priority in scheduling to help them get back on track? Is there any additional supports?
Well, for sure, there's additional support. So we'll want to make sure that if you have problems or you did not do well in that online class, we probably have already, or we'll target you almost immediately once you make application. And certainly, I would suggest that you reach out to academic advising even as you're doing that, because they'll make sure that you've got the support that you need while that's going on. In terms of priority scheduling, that hasn't been a problem at this point, so I don't anticipate that it would. But I guess I would just say, if for some reason you can't get into a class, talk to your advisor, because I'm sure we'll be able to work something out.
Will students be required to wear masks, be tested, or vaccinated?
Well, I wish we had a vaccine, so we won't be vaccinating. And I do not believe we'll be doing temperature checks. So it's kind of, the jury's still out on the effectiveness of that. I do anticipate, though, that students, as well as all employees, every employee will be wearing masks. That is the one thing. Masks, washing of hands, and we have various places across the campus where you can use sanitizer on your hands. Cleaning of the equipment, all of those have been shown to make a significant difference. And the masks, for instance, if you're wearing a mask and for some reason you're sick and you don't know it yet because you're asymptomatic, the chances of, if you're wearing a mask, the chances of you passing that on to anybody are reduced from almost 100% down to 30%. And then if that person's also wearing a mask, it's down to 5%. So we do want to do that. I know it's uncomfortable. I'm not a big mask wearer myself, I'm keeping everybody away from me as much as possible, but that's just the way it is. We're going to end up wearing masks. I think we're going to see that more and more as time goes on. I can remember at one point being in China, and I couldn't believe that. Now, it wasn't during this latest epidemic. It was a few years ago. The numbers of people wearing masks. I just, I thought, how could they do that? Now that I've had to wear a mask every time I leave my office, I see how they do it, and we'll make sure that it just it'll be something that we all get used to. As I said, it'll be the new fashion statement.
The next question, what about internships for the fall?
We will continue to work to identify internships just as we do in clinicals. We have our internship coordinator. If you're looking for an internship, I certainly would encourage you to make that connection down in our job center because they'll help you in doing that. If you have an internship, we'll work with that employer to make sure that that happens as well. Again, I think the thing that's working for all of us, including you as students, is that employers need you. And because they need you, they're going to make accommodations for that to happen.
Are there any changes to student housing?
No, the student housing that we have is actually operated by a third party. They are responsible for and have instituted a number of procedures to make sure that students remain healthy and that they remain COVID free. There was some talk about maybe expanding the amount of student housing. That's not going to happen. We will continue to work on a regular basis with the folks over in student housing to make sure that they are implementing the procedures that need to be implemented to keep all of you safe that are using that housing.
Will buildings be open this summer for students in summer classes for individual studying or small group studying?
Where you need to work as small groups, I think we can make that accommodation. It'll probably be in the building that you're currently taking classes. This is more or less during the summer. There'll be more opportunity, again, staying in the same building in the fall. We know working together as a team is going to be important, and we'll accommodate that as much as we possibly can.
Will there still be academic coaching available in person in the fall? I really benefited from it in person for the science courses.
Yes, we will have academic coaching. It will be available both ways, in person and also in an off-campus format.
Will the fitness center be open?
Right now, we're not planning that the fitness center will be open during the fall. We hope to be able to open it in January, but really using an abundance of caution. The only thing that fitness center will be used for is for specific classes that need that, such as in public safety or EMT classes, but otherwise it will not be available.
We are an outside agency who assists your students with funding. Prior to COVID, we often met them at your library. Is there any chance we can make arrangements to continue to serve them on site?
Absolutely. Well, probably it may be in a different location, might be more in the Welcome Center. I know Colleen, maybe you want to speak to this. Colleen is our Vice President for Student Services, and it's her people that have really been working with the outside agencies.
Thank you very much, Dr. Raffin. Yes, we will continue to work with all of our external partners. For the fall semester, we will be rolling out a phase-out approach where we will be meeting our external partners utilizing our Welcome Center. There will be more details to come as it relates to that, but our goal is to ensure that we continue to provide a strong partnership and ensure that we are servicing our students.
We know that students are more likely to make it from us to an external partner and vice versa if they can do it on campus. And so we're committed to working through that.
What sort of mental health services are available to students who are struggling?
Well, we have counseling services. We have trained counselors that are trained in a variety of mental health and other kinds of issues that students may find themselves experiencing. we do not want to lose a student because they're also dealing with personal issues. And these counselors are available to all of our students by appointment and also by drop-in. So we would encourage you to take advantage of that.
If I cannot attend class because I'm ill, will that affect my grades? Will teachers be understanding and provide options?
Well, if you're ill, we do not want you to come to campus. We want you to get better. And we want you to do that stress-free. So yes, we will work with you to accommodate the learning that you have lost or you haven't been able to participate in because if you've been ill. We will work with you to come up with a plan to get you back on track. Again, our goal is to make sure that you are successful, you graduate, get the credential that you want. And just as you're not going to let illness get in your way, we're not going to let that happen either. But you need to take care of yourself. And if you are sick, we want you to take that time to get better, and then we'll work with you without penalty to get back on track.
Will there be food service on campus?
Food service during the fall will be primarily through vending. We will have vending, additional vending in every building. We do not anticipate having the commons in operation with food service. I realize that's an inconvenience for you as a student because you'll need to either bring food or we'll try to have some healthy selections in the vending. But this is really, until we get a much better handle on COVID, it's one of the ways that we can make sure that we're not having students congregating in spaces and not having the kinds of social distancing that we need to have. So I would anticipate at least through the end of December that we'll be primarily vending or whatever food you bring.
Will there be study abroad next year?
I do not anticipate that there will be study abroad next year. It's not that we're giving up on that, and certainly we hope to be able to implement study abroad in the future years. But with the situation being so unsure, not only in the US, but overseas, we're concerned about students getting trapped overseas or getting sick overseas and not being able to respond to that. I'm sure as you read in the papers, that's one of the issues that we've had is people getting back. And so as much as I believe that study abroad is important and it's important for people to see how other people are living and adapting to their environment, at least for this next year, we do not anticipate having study abroad.
How is the college handling campus cleaning if a COVID case is found on campus?
Well, that's part of the reason that we are trying to limit the amount of the mobility of students and in terms of how many buildings you're in. So we're trying to keep you as much as possible confined to the building where your program is really being taught. Because if a student then does, or an employee for that matter, anybody, comes down with COVID, we will have to shut down that part of the building for a minimum of 3 days. 2 days to let things settle and then another day for deep cleaning. But we have procedures in place to do that. We've worked with our cleaning personnel. We know what to do. We know how to do that deep cleaning so that we can make sure that when you come back after those 3 days, that you are, that you are safe and that you're going to be healthy.
The program I'm interested in requires a toolkit. Do I get a toolkit with no risk enrollment?
Yeah, for the most part, those first 5 days probably are not going to require the toolkit, but if for some reason it does require the toolkit, we will have tools available to you so that you can at least be able to participate fully in the class during those days.
What campus services are available remotely?
All of our services are going to be available remotely. So whether it be counseling because you've got mental health issue, which, by the way, over a third of students going to college at one point or another have a mental health issue. So you should always feel free and don't feel ashamed if you've got a mental health issue and you seek out help. Also, all of our academic coaching is available. All of our advising is available. Our admissions work, our faculty are available. Really, every service that we have is available. If for some reason you run into an emergency and you need food, we are able to get shared harvest food to you. If for some reason you need to access our emergency funds because something unexpected happened, we're able to get those to you. So really every service that we've provided on our campus are also going to be available remotely.
I just want to let everyone know who's online that we are getting towards the end of the questions that we had emailed in. So if you're thinking of questions right now, go ahead and type those into the chat feature or the Q&A feature so I can read those. But for now, I have just a couple more. How can I register for no-risk enrollment?
Well, you go online and make contact with us. We have admissions counselors that will work with you, and I'll have maybe Mark Franks talk a little bit about how to do that. Mark is actually responsible he's our director of enrollment, and he can make sure that this is a process that is easy for you. Mark?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Raffin. It is really an easy process to go online and to sign up to be a student. And we have a self-service portal where you can sign up for classes, or there are numbers of admission advisors that you can call, or career coaches, and there's just a number of people that you can contact if you have issues. Someone is always there to help you. You always can call the call center. It's an easy number to remember, 498-5444, and they will put you in touch with whoever you need to help you with that enrollment process.
Yeah, so if you're not able to get on the internet or don't have the equipment to do it, just call the call center, 498-5444, and they will walk you through the entire process and get you hooked up with the people that you need to get hooked up with. And you can do it from that vantage point as well.
I would just add, if you do have internet access and you can get to our nwtc.edu website, one of the easiest ways to get started is there's a blue chat with us button. Just click on that button and you will be connected to chat with somebody who can help answer any of the questions that you have about enrollment or programs or anything to do with NWTC.
I'm just going to ask Dan Minchev, who is responsible for our instructional computing as well as our administrative computing, to just talk a little bit about how we will help you as a student, particularly if you do not have access to computing or the internet, and then end up in a class that's blended or in some way you need to access the internet.
Right. Good morning, everybody. We are working with our library to provide checkout laptops for students, as well as check out cellular hotspots. So if you live in an area where it's hard to come by internet, but there's good cell coverage, we have devices that will pair up with a laptop that'll allow you to continue your studies. This past spring, we checked out over 450 laptops out to students, so we have quite a number ready to go that will be ready to go for fall as well.
So we'll make sure that you have the equipment. Now, if for some reason you can't get on the internet and you don't have broadband service, our faculty have come up with ways to get in contact with you and to make sure that you're able to stay on pace with your class.
We had a couple more questions be typed in. Will there be less funds available for student emergency or less food available for the food pantry?
No, I don't anticipate that there would be less. If anything, there'll be more. We continue to work with our partners across the area that are providing food and funding to us. I would also tell you that the staff and faculty here have been outstanding in terms of the contributions that they make to our foundation, that also then provides support for those areas as well.
Will there be a place to sit and attend an online blended class on campus? The AP class I signed up for in fall is blended, but the online and in-person class times are too close together to commute.
The two different classes?
Yes, and so what they're saying is their in-person format would be back-to-back with their blended or online format.
Then we'll have to make it available for you to be able to take it on campus to do the blended.
Will there be in-person orientation sessions in the fall?
Right now, I think our orientation sessions are going to be mostly virtual. But I don't, Colleen or Mark I'm going to throw this out to my panel here in terms of what they're planning to do for program orientation.
So I'll take a stab at it. Our program orientation is hosted by our learning divisions. And right now we are planning to have a virtual experience for program orientation. And that will be happening after students have attended their SOAR, their welcome week, and then the next phase will be program orientation. If any of the learning side of the house would like to add more to it, please feel free to.
Well, Amy, I know that you have a lot of those laboratories and hands-on experiences. What are you thinking of doing?
Well, we are, thanks, Dr. Raffin. We are hoping that we can do at least a portion of our orientation in person, but that may look different than it did prior. Prior, we would have everyone come in and be in a group in a lab. And this year, we will most likely have a WebEx version where you will be able to see what's going on in the lab, and we can do a virtual orientation of the space and you can meet your instructors. We're kind of in limbo as far as that goes. I will tell you that we just completed an orientation for our gas utility and electrical power students that will start in 2 weeks. And we did that all virtually and it worked really well. They got to meet the people that will be instructing them, and they got all of the services that they needed that way. And it was a fairly easy experience, and everyone was pretty satisfied with it. Of course, we always look forward to meeting people in person, but we're finding ways to get it done.
And then keep in mind too, our no risk option. That first week, you come here, and if it turns out that it's not like what you thought it was going to be, or it's not going to work for you, you're going to have the ability to leave the class and come in at some later point, really at no penalty and no cost to you.
Will the library be open in the fall, and specifically the study rooms in the library? We're still working through how we're going to do that, because the study rooms I know are important and the library is important. The question we're working through is what the traffic flow is going to be back and forth. I will tell you this, that library resources and study rooms in some fashion will be available, if not in the library, within the buildings themselves. Right now, it looks like we have gotten to the end of the questions that folks have typed. I've also read all of the questions that were sent in to us ahead of time. So here's that last call for any questions you're thinking of right now.
Or our panelists, or Catherine. I never gave you an opportunity to talk. Catherine is actually our Vice President for Learning. She's the one that's going to make sure all of this works for you, at least in the classroom and the learning outside that classroom.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Raffin, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I think that you can tell by all of the questions that we've answered that we've been working really hard to make sure that we have the best environment for you when you come back to classes. We've already successfully brought back some of our spring students to their lab courses. It's going really well, and our faculty are very excited to have you back. So we're looking at all options, making sure that you are back in a safe environment and that you can learn the way you prefer to learn.
There aren't any more questions. There is a comment, and I'm going to go ahead and read it because thank you so much for making that comment. This person said, just wanted to say NWTC is the best school regardless of the situation. So thank you for that comment.
Well, I happen to agree, but I'm probably somewhat biased. But we're good and we're best because of you as students. And I'm always amazed and proud of the effort and the barriers and the work that our students put into their education. And I know that sometimes it's not easy. More often than not, it seems like it would be easier to just give up. And we're not going to give up, and I know you as students will not give up. And together, we're going to make sure that you have the best education possible and a great experience. So thank you for participating in this open forum. If you know anybody else that would like to hear that, know that we have forums that are also coming on at 6 o'clock tonight. And then we have one on Thursday morning and Friday morning as well. That students or prospective students or parents or whoever would like to participate, please give us a call, ask us the questions. We look forward to seeing you.